I'm just going to come out and say it. The Europeans are apparently making window cheese, and you're going to have to stick around if you want to know what that means. Today we're talking about the most important invention of the 20th century, air conditioning. Okay, I know what you're thinking. That's a pretty big claim. We came up with a lot of important stuff in the 20th century. That is true. However, yes, air conditioning is the most important one. I'm going to prove it, and then I'm going to relentlessly talk smack about Europeans the entire time, right after word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Supremacy World War III. It is a free-to-play online PvP military-based strategy.
This is brought to you by Raid Shadow
The entire thing's based on a World War III type scenario where you get to pick your country and go to war with the rest of the world. You can forge alliances, or you can just go...
A World War III doomsday scenario. Do you think they're trying to prepare us for something, Chart? Do you think they're trying to prepare us for something through mobile games? Do you think they know something that we don't?
Solo and try to take over the whole thing yourself.
One and only Stormy, welcome in. Happy birthday, Mr. Lord Rexworthius. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For training the AI. Naturally, the guy died when it failed. H.P. Lovecraft wrote a novel where someone extended the life using air conditioning, kept his apartment cool, preventing his body from suffering the effects of aging and decaying. Naturally, guy died when it failed. Yeah. Yeah. The aircon fails, and you just sort of melt.
They've just introduced a new shadow market, which is basically the black market where you do a bunch of sketchy, illegal stuff under the table that's going to upset people if they find out. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it's going to upset people. That's literally a function of the game. If you get caught, it can actually cause insurgencies, civil unrest, or damage the morale of your country. Unpopular opinion, they should probably update it so it increases the morale of the American military if they get caught, because their unofficial motto is, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. I mean, it's never a war crime the first time. So if you want to give it a try, you can play with up to 99 other people, and it's available both PC and mobile, and it's free. So if you want to check it out, I'm gonna have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. All right, why are we even talking about air conditioning right now? Okay, if you're not chronically on the internet like myself, A, good for you, but B, let me fill you in real quick. Every June or July, there's a magical time of year where the British experience a heat wave. There's newspaper articles, there's British and European people getting on the internet talking shit about how the
American mind cannot comprehend Europe's AC aversion. I think we've just got way too many masochists over in Europe. They appear to be gluttons for punishment. There's no virtue in just suffering like that. Many Americans have the same question. Why don't you just get AC? I mean, it really is just a simple question. There is problem. We have solution. But so many people are just doing like the meme of, I don't want a solution. I want to complain about the problem. It always just seems like such a waste of time to me. It always seems like such a waste of time to just keep complaining when there is a solution. Just get a window unit. Just get a window unit, man. This is not rocket surgery here. Just get some AC. Not hard. Not hard. And nobody's really interested in getting constant complaints about the problem. And frankly, if, you know, call me old-fashioned, but if you're not willing to do something, if you know that there's a solution, you're not willing to implement it, you kind of forfeit your right to complain about any of that sort of thing. Trying to act like the heat is different, it's humid here too, right? I have to dip right now. All right, Ashbridge, take care. Take care. A solution that's over 100 years old, yes. It was promised to our people 3,000 years ago.
Americans just don't understand a British heat wave. We couldn't possibly survive, yada, yada, yada. So then I get on there, I'm competitive, they're talking smack. It's like, okay, I mean, how hot is it over there? Never been there. Maybe it is super hot. I have no idea. So then you look into it, and all the headlines are like, the British heat wave has reached over 30 degrees Celsius for the 5th day in a row.
Yeah, all you have to do to convert is times 2, add 32, and join the rest of the human race.
Okay, my country's flag is on the moon. I have no idea what 30 degrees Celsius is, so then you got to get on Google again. You got to ask it what 30 degrees Celsius is, converted into Fahrenheit, the superior way of measuring temperature. It's like 86 degrees, and these people are acting like they're melting.
I mean, don't get me wrong, that's rather warm, especially if you stay outdoors long enough, or, you know, you stay in a building that can get to be like an oven with all the heat, especially if it's designed to retain the heat. But again, there's aircon for this sort of thing. We have the solution. We have the recipes. We have the technology.
Buh! Actually, Celsius is better because it's a metric system. You know, that measurement system the entire world uses except for you guys. It's obviously the best. Buh! No, it isn't. It doesn't even make sense, okay? Fahrenheit is the easiest concept on the planet. 0 is cold, 100 is hot, based on the human experience. The end. Celsius, on the other hand, is based on the freezing and boiling point of water, which doesn't even make sense because the freezing and boiling point of water isn't a constant. It depends on like 20 other variables, including altitude. Okay, when somebody asks you, how hot is it outside? Nobody's asking you, how does a glass of water at sea level feel about the temperature outside? No, I'm asking.
Grandpa Simpson was right. The metric system is the tool of the devil. Imperial supremacy. Let us not turn our pints into liters and our yards into meters.
Are my balls gonna be sweaty if I go outside? Do I need to wear shorts? Do I need to bring baby powder?
30 degrees Celsius or above without ventilation or AC is hell. Yes, does start to get a bit stuffy. Anything above maybe 75, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, that starts to get rather stuffy and warm and uncomfortable. And just after a while, it's miserable. I don't blame anyone for feeling the way they do. But again, we have the technology. We can rebuild him. Honestly, I was there on a trip in some of the worst, not AC, it's a ventilation issue. Compared to the American South, the summer was relatively cool. Yeah, technically a higher altitude, I believe, especially in the afternoon. Spring-like climate past 3 p.m. boggles my mind as a Southeastern American. Yes, the Southern American cannot comprehend spring-like temperatures in the afternoon past 3 or 4 o'clock. Usually around that time, that's golden hour of a different variety, more like baking everything in sight to a nice golden brown. Megalyn, welcome in. Got a gram in my pocket and a 9mm on me. That's as metric as I'm willing to go. Hell yeah. The indoors was hotter than the outdoors. Yes, some structures, especially ones in the UK and the rest of Europe, they are designed to, as they so often say, retain the heat. And that means in the summertime, starts to feel like an oven. Elucidator, welcome in. Happy birthday, good sir. Thank you.
Is monkey butt a potential hazard? These are the questions I want to know. I don't give a fuck how water feels about it.
Oh gosh, it's just too much.
I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. Anyways, this happens every year. The Europeans get on the internet, they complain about a heat wave, 86 degrees, they pretend like they're melting, they say the Americans don't understand, we couldn't possibly survive a British heat wave, yada yada yada. Well, this
I should like my fellow Brit bongs and Eurobros to pay a visit to the Arizona desert in the middle of summer with temperatures over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, and, you know, since you're so keen on virtue signaling about how you don't have AC and how that somehow makes you this long-suffering good person, this heckin' good person, because global warming is some bullshit. Yeah, no AC for you out there. Let's see how long you last. Let's see how long you last when the most you can offer, when most that you might be able to manage is a swamp cooler. I imagine most of them would be begging to come inside. I'm sorry, after having lived in the southern United States for as long as I have, my people have been made weak by their relatively mild summers. Lived in Phoenix for 11 years. The UK does not know about heat, lol. Had some 120-degree days, indeed. I've spent some time in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tucson, cities like that. Been out to the desert, can confirm, it gets bloody hot out there. Like, you can't stay out there for very long, otherwise you might die. As in, the weather, the heat is actively trying to kill you. Don't talk to me about houses that are designed to retain the heat and feel like an oven. No, you go outside in some parts of the great American Southwest, you stay out there long enough, you might die. Don't forget the places with humidity. Yes, go to South Florida in the middle of, like, right now, or August. Stay out there long enough, you might die. My family's colonial. I'm ready to fight them on this. A swamp cooler by a way I could create with 2 Rubbermaid tubs, a towel, and a $5 aquarium pump, but no AC costs too much. The great uncle had to die. Theoretically, in Minecraft, the British mind can't comprehend the biodiversity of America. They think there's only one kind of heat. Well, I mean, when you think about it, so many UK citizens do not have passports and don't really travel very far. Their idea of a fancy faraway holiday is to go up to Edinburgh or, you know, pay a visit down to Dover, some place like that. People go missing and die from hiking every year, even in spring. Yes, I can imagine so. The heat, it will get to you. It will disorient you. And yes, it can kill you if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know where you're going. I see them in Florida and in Phoenix for the flight school. Especially those flight schools. I can imagine, this is just a guess, but I'm fairly certain I'm right. The training airplanes that they use, probably something like a single-engine Cessna. I used to fly in those back in my radio days when I did airborne traffic reports. Those things don't have air conditioning. In the middle of summer, even high up in the air, it still gets really bloody hot. It starts to feel like an oven, even if you open up the windows and get some air going. I had a colleague that was doing airborne traffic in a large metro area, very hot summers, 100-degree days. He brought Hot Pockets with him for lunch. He set the Hot Pockets on the dash near the front windscreen, just sort of left them sitting out for a bit. It was so hot that after about, 5, 10, 15 minutes, he grabbed the Hot Pockets. They were piping hot. They'd been cooked all the way through. He was able to enjoy himself a light lunch on the go. Elucidator, thank you for the tier 1 gifted sub to Hammer 196658. Hammer, do thank Elucidator for your tier 1 sub there. JC, welcome in. Happy birthday again, bro. Thank you. Thank you. Most people here in Denmark have visited Greece, Spain, Italy, Bulgaria, Montenegro. One of those. Lovely places, all of them. Well-traveled people. It's always a good thing. Back to work I go. I shall return. All right, Angel Rose. Good luck with work. Have a good shift. Yay, a boiling hot Hot Pocket and 1,000 feet in the air and a flying oven. Delightful. It do be that way, Mr. Stencil.
This year, something amazing happened. The FIFA World Cup is in America, so a bunch of Europeans came to America and they got to experience American heat, and it became overwhelmingly obvious to them they are, in fact, just being giant pansy asses about the entire situation. At which point the Europeans realized that they were wrong.
They get over there to America and they realize we've never had it so good. We don't know how good we have it back home.
They admitted defeat and we all moved on. I'm just kidding. The Europeans pivoted, they moved the goalposts, and then the entire conversation became about air conditioning. Okay, I had no idea because I'm an American, and to be honest with you, I don't give a fuck about European politics, but apparently the British and the French are like morally and mentally just adamantly opposed to air conditioning, to the point that it is literally a humongous political debate over there right now, and the right wing and the left wing over.
Is it right wing to have air conditioning? In France it is. France is not real, chat. France is not even real. You cannot trust the frogs, and France is not real. Air conditioning scourge of the French left. What even is France at this point? What even is France? That is not real. These people are not real. Europe is boiling and the far right is turning air conditioning into a culture war. No, they just want to cool off. They just want some aircon to cool off because it's hot out. But, you know, apparently having nice things is far right. We're not allowed to have nice things. We're apparently just supposed to all suffer. Which just goes to show you, chat, that the left is no fun. Right-wingers have more fun. God, imagine living there. I don't have to imagine living there, Stormy. At least not anymore. I live in America now. We have aircon. We don't have hang-ups about that sort of thing. We just apparently have weird moral panics about the stupidest of things. So I guess can't take the bad without the good. Why doesn't a beef Wellington Hot Pocket exist? That should be a thing, Elucidator. There really should be a thing. But I suppose it's just easier to do pepperoni pizza, ham and cheese, and, you know, meatballs and mozzarella flavored Hot Pockets. Whenever people visit Paris now, they always have bad things to say. Paris has turned into a shithole. It is an absolute shithole. It is nothing like what you've seen in old movies or in the photographs or anything like that. Most of the Japanese, who are complete and total francophiles to the point that they dream about going to Paris, they go to Paris. It's not like what they expected, what they had imagined in their mind's eye. And they get back and they've got to go into therapy because they're just so devastated that the City of Lights is more like the city of shit. I heard one story in Argentina about air conditioning being sexist. Those people sound like communists and they need to be dropped from helicopters. Much like we have the no true Scotsman fallacy, no true Argentinian would say such a thing. That sounds like communist, and communists need to be dropped from helicopters. Good luck convincing me that weird Champs-Élysées in the dead of summer had no air-conditioned shops. Sure. I'm sure there are some. I'm sure there are some. Those are the ones that probably did the best business, too. I'll take the Norman and Metabu Vikings in Normandy. They go to Paris and are no longer francophiles, yeah. Not exactly what's advertised. It's not like going to Japan where everything is as advertised.
In France is literally divided on air conditioning. Air conditioning in France is right-wing technology. I'm not exaggerating. And me, with how my brain works, now I have to know the history of air conditioning. So, from the top. The first modern air conditioner was invented in 1902 by an engineer by the name of Willis Carrier, and Willis Carrier was hired by a publishing company to come in and solve a problem. The problem this publishing company had was that when they were trying to print things in summer, the heat and humidity was causing fluctuations in the paper and the printing process, giving them an inconsistent product that they weren't happy with. So he gets hired to come in and figure out a way to make their product more consistent while they're printing in summer. And his
just make the temperature in the room consistent. Duh. AC is right-wing tech, long live the right. Yeah. Speak fucking Heil, motherfuckers. I'm sorry if it makes me an evil Nazi to like and desire air conditioning, then fine. Call me a Nazi. Call me far right. I don't care. Benjamin Roloff, thank you for subscribing over on YouTube.
First option is, obviously, I'm just going to change the environment. I'm going to make it a constant. I'm going to get rid of the heat and the humidity so it's no longer a factor. Then we can tune the machines once and we can print away because it's always going to be the same temp and the same humidity in the factory. Okay, pause. I need you to understand, as a person in 2026 that's grown up with like modern technology, this sounds obvious, like, duh, just do that. But at the time in 1902, homeboy literally came out of left field and is like, clearly, I just have to change the rules of physics. I have to change the entire world around me so this works. I'm literally going to attempt to domesticate the fucking wind so I can print books. Okay, do you understand how insane that is? That would be if like the Wright brothers, when they were trying to design an airplane, were like, fucking, we'll just turn off gravity. Duh.
It's science.
But somehow, this guy manages to do it, fixes the printing problem.
It's called outside of the box thinking, chat. And anyone who's clever enough can do it. Spoiler alert, that's you. You're clever enough. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be here watching this stream. As an acquaintance of ours once so eloquently said, the French reproduce asexually by laying eggs in the nest of croissants and baguettes. I'd take that W and claim air conditioning on behalf of the right-wing university in Europa. Bluinator, thank you for following over on Twitch. The Nazis could wear those sleek black uniforms, and AC definitely helped. Yes, wearing all black tends to draw in a lot of heat. It gets a bit toasty. So yeah, probably need some AC to keep cool in the admittedly rather smart-looking drip that they had going on back then. To like and desire a comfortable living condition is wrong. I refuse to be correct. Yeah, if that's wrong, I don't want to be right. I don't want to be right. Can't believe people lived in Arizona before AC. They did. There wasn't many of them, and they certainly weren't comfortable, but they did. You know, and then at one point, I swear to you, I've seen these on like these home makeover television shows. Someone found, not in Arizona, but somewhere in the Nevada desert. It was an old home built back in, gosh, I think it was the 30s, the 40s, 50s, sometime in the first half of the 20th century. And for decades, all they had was a swamp cooler. I'm not even joking. All they had was a swamp cooler, which there's a difference, chat, if you know, between the use of swamp coolers and aircon. Aircon, you can turn that place into a refrigerator or a freezer. You can freeze yourself out of your own home if you lower the temperature enough and get that thing really going and keep all the doors and windows closed, the blinds drawn, and, you know, the curtains drawn and everything. Swamp coolers, it's blowing air over water in the hopes that that will at least mildly cool things. I mean, that's sort of the basics, the rough 101 of the tech. It doesn't really do a good job. It's kind of a half measure. To be fair, comfort is somewhat relative to personal acclimation. Yes, I'm sure a lot of people, before the age of electricity and aircon and even ceiling fans, have become quite accustomed to incredibly warm, hot summers, cold, windy winters, that sort of thing. But with the invention of electricity, with the advent of air conditioning, don't have to acclimatize so much. Then again, some people would argue that's made us soft. I'd rather be soft. No wonder the Comanche, the Navajo, and the Apache were so angry. If I lived where they did without AC, I'd be pissy too. Yeah, probably. The heat can really shorten people's fuses. I wonder if Nevada doesn't get monsoon season. Some parts probably. I don't know for sure. That sounds possible. Air swamp coolers are useless in the monsoon season. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Never really had to live through a monsoon, so wouldn't know. My father bought air conditioning 20 years ago. Something I remember from summers as a kid was that people would turn garden sprinklers on in high heat. Yeah, to cool the garden air. Would argue the soft, strong spectrum is more mental training than physical. Fair. I'd say so too, yeah. Yeah, it's just as much physical as it is mental sometimes, even spiritual.
sees the potential, patents the idea, patents the phrase air conditioning, and then he goes and creates the Carrier Air Conditioning Company, which is still around today, has like over 50,000 employees, and is worth over $20 billion.
Too.
So air conditioning is like primarily used in these factory type settings. In 1914, there are some people starting to get air conditioners in their homes, but it's extremely rare. By the early 1930s, they are starting to have like commercial air conditioning units that you can put in a home, but they cost like $10,000, which in 1932, convert that to today's money, it's almost like $250,000 for a window air conditioning unit. But people were willing to pay.
Yeah, just to give you some perspective, $10,000. At one point, that adjusted for inflation, that was close to $500,000. It was sort of like how the Duesenberg, the old Duesenberg automobile, was considered a millionaire's car because it originally retailed for $20,000, and you basically had to be a millionaire to afford a Duesenberg, because 20 grand adjusted for inflation at one point was $1 million. Now I'm sure it's even more.
It because if you got the money, not having ball sweat is priceless.
Hell yeah.
Oddly enough, you can make the argument that air conditioning is actually responsible for movies, TV, and Hollywood as a whole. Because outside of manufacturing, one of the first industries to adopt air conditioning is movie theaters, which makes so much sense because I cannot tell you how many times I've been shown like, oh, this is a silent film from 19 whatever the fuck, and oh, it was so funny at the time, blah, 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 blah. Nobody was going to movie theaters in the 1920s, the 1930s, the 1940s because they enjoyed watching silent films. They were going because that was the only place they could go to get air conditioning and get out of the heat for 2 hours.
Refrigerated washed air, it said. Refrigerated washed air cooling system. I remember my dad telling me about this. He would go and he'd take his allowance that his mum gave him, which wasn't much, but I think it was like 25 cents or something like that, or roughly the equivalent thereof, basically the American equivalent of a quarter. And they would go and they'd spend an entire day at the cinema. They'd go and spend the entire day at the cinema, and it would allow him to view multiple pictures, even get small popcorn and a soda. And a lot of people came in to just get out of the heat. A lot of people just came in to get out of the heat because cinemas had massive industrial air conditioning systems. Wild, right? Amazing how much farther your money could go back then. For weather temperature reasons, my dream home's about 10 feet underground. That deep is where you start having a consistent ambient temperature. Yeah. Especially if you've got something like a concrete geodesic dome structure. Yeah, you can really retain the heat. Really retains the heat. Actually went to an open air laboratory and research institute devoted entirely to the study of geodesic domes. They had some structures out there in the open field. One of them was constructed to be a storehouse. I was with a group. We went in there, and this was a summer day, so it was fairly warm outside. But we get in, and it was really quite pleasant and cool. And we didn't know it until our tour guide pointed out to us, and he said, "Oh, I forgot to turn on the AC. Hang on." And he turned on fans, and he turned on the aircon in the storehouse. We had no idea it wasn't even on. It was just so pleasant. It wasn't exactly like a cold temperature, but it was just a really pleasant, consistent room temperature. And he told us about how, oh yeah, this sort of thing happens all the time. He said we had clients who built a house using some of our home plans. Geodesic dome is somewhere up in Montana or the Dakotas, someplace like that. And he said they went through this long, incredibly harsh winter, and then all of a sudden they noticed that it started to feel a little bit chilly after a while. When normally they don't notice that sort of thing. And he said eventually they had discovered that their heating system had been broken down for like a month or at least a few weeks. And they didn't even know, because the structure itself just held in a normal temperature so well. Sounds like a scripted event for the tour. Possibly. They might get that all the time. It's still no less impressive, though. Birthday boy over here using words like geodesic. Well, I mean, that's how it's described. I think the term was first coined by R. Buckminster Fuller. Something like that. I don't know. Gotta go. All right, boo. Have a good day.
Was the only place they could go to get air conditioning and get out of the heat for 2 hours. You can actually go back and read accounts from people at the time where they're like, yeah, no, we don't go to the movie theater because we give a shit about the movie. We just go so we can go there to cool off. So in a way,
before the age of television, they had things called newsreels at cinemas. And there were some people, they'd pay the price of like a matinee ticket, and they go in and all they would watch is the newsreel, or maybe some of the opening cartoons, or these old MGM, Warner Brothers animated shorts, the things from Disney, the short cartoons of Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, the Silly Symphonies, Bugs Bunny, Tom and Jerry. All of that started out in life as these short subjects before the feature presentation. Same with newsreels. The whole agency is devoted entirely to the creation of newsreels to give a visual to a narrator telling you what's going on with certain stories. It was a time when going to the cinema was considered a fancy event. You dressed well for there. Yes, quite. And then became rather pedestrian sort of thing. And then sort of revived in a sense with releases like Disney's Fantasia, because people were rather confused about, is this a motion picture? Is this a concert event? And it was sort of marketed as both. And so especially in some of the larger markets like New York, Chicago, places like that, people would go in, fancy evening dress and white tie and tails, that sort of thing.
It's pretty likely, or at least you could argue, that if it wasn't for air conditioning, the film industry as we know it today might not exist. Regardless, movie theaters were a lot of people's first encounter with air conditioning, and once they saw it, they're like, holy shit, this is awesome. I want to get it inside my house. But from here, the cost of air conditioners actually plummets because it's something that everybody can use and everybody wants. It's just like TVs. When I was a kid growing up, a flat screen TV...
Yeah, what a concept. Prices actually going down as they make more of it, and people want more of it. When's the last time we've seen that?
It was like $12,000. It was some absurd amount of money. And today I can go to Walmart and buy a 70-inch flat screen TV that's better than those TVs when I was growing up for like $400. So air conditioning got incredibly cheap, incredibly fast when you compare it to pretty much anything else. And by the 1950s, they were starting to have literal experiments that they would call air-conditioned villages. Basically, they were new housing developments where all these new homes had air conditioning in them, and they had
air-conditioned villages, they called them. The Air Condition Project World Research Center. We think nothing of it now, but back then, this was a big fucking deal. So it's all John Air Conditioning's fault that we have Hollywood. Maybe? Sure, we'll go with that.
actually had
Last time we saw that was the last time they let it happen.
psychologists and scientists go in, and the families that bought these homes volunteered to be studied for over a year to see the impacts of living in an air-conditioned climate in your home and how it would affect you. People had no idea what would happen. Would they go crazy? Would they not be able to handle going outside anymore? These were all huge unknowns at the time. And you want to know what the psychologists and the scientists concluded about living in air conditioning?
That everyone turned out normal and even maybe a little bit happier, and, you know, life wasn't really all that bad.
It's pretty fucking awesome, okay? They found out that everybody slept better, and they also found out that the housewives were reporting back to the psychologists that their husbands, and I quote, had a better disposition, aka their husbands weren't as fucking grumpy all the time. You can literally go back and read the articles. We'll read one right now. Headline, air conditioning helps with...
What a concept, you know, when you don't have to worry about being so bloody hot all the time. You're not as irritable. You're not as grumpy about things. You're not as unhappy. You're not wanting to constantly get into arguments and, you know, fisticuffs and all of that. You're actually, you know, you're pretty cool, calm, and collected. Emphasis on the cool bit.
Disposition. Women living in air-conditioned homes in Austin, Texas, the air-conditioned village, startled a team of psychologists and researchers by asserting their husbands' dispositions had somehow miraculously improved under the influence of air conditioning. Okay, when you're not hot, you're not grumpy. Fucking shocking, I know. Oddly enough, statistical data collected by these researchers indicated that indoor conditions within these homes could be conducive to support this opinion of these air-conditioned housewives.
Because, you know, they just didn't want to simply take their word for it.
Reading newspapers from the 50s is crazy because it's just like, well, the housewives are saying their husbands are in the better mood, but them bitches are crazy. We can't trust them. We need empirical data to prove their opinion might be correct.
Beautiful. I know.
But even more strongly indicated is the likely possibility.
Wait, if you're in a comfortable environment, you have less stress. I call BS. I call facts.
That the women themselves, as a result of enjoying the comforts of air conditioning, were able to look upon their spouses with a little more than usual benevolence. Okay, translation, mom and dad are both in a better mood because nobody's sweating their ass off all day, obviously. Okay, just so we're all on the same page, if you're not picking up on a put down so far, air conditioning might be responsible for the entire film industry, TV as we know it today. It helps keep families together, and that's just scratching the surface on why it's the most important invention of the 20th century. Just to prove my point, let's have a thought exercise. I asked Google, completely blind. I had some guesses because I know a little bit about history, but I just went in blind and asked Google, what are the most important inventions of the 20th century? Let's see what they came up with. So coming in at number 1, we have the transistor, obviously extremely important, but the mass manufacturing of transistors isn't possible without air conditioning because in order to manufacture a transistor, you need purified air, humidity control, and temperature control, all of which are provided by air conditioning. So no air conditioning, no mass manufacturing of transistors. One more point. Coming in at number 2,
which means no computers, no fancy electronics. Most of our modern automobiles would not work. There's a lot riding on electricity and air conditioning. I think we've been taking it for granted this whole time, and in ways we don't really give much thought to this anymore, do we, chat? Rexworth, yes, Ashbridge.
Internet, okay? Internet also can't exist without AC because the internet is run off of a bunch of server farms, which also need to be in a climate-controlled environment. You ever been inside of a server room? Pretty cold, pretty purified air. Can't...
You've got to keep those server rooms cold, so there's another thing. Air conditioning, a prerequisite to internet access. There's a lot riding on electricity and aircon. More than we realize.
Have it without air conditioning. Coming in at number 3, penicillin. Obviously, incredibly important. The world's first antibiotic saved tens, if not hundreds of millions of lives since it was invented. And you know...
Yeah, medicine, especially a lot of modern medicines. It's not just air conditioning, refrigeration, even freezing technology. That's a necessity for all of that. Otherwise, those cultures would die. Those cultures would die, and you wouldn't be able to learn anything. You wouldn't be able to study these things. AC is a universal need for most, if not many, of the things we use today. Yes, quite so. A breakthrough through-line technology. Quite so.
You know what? Would it exist without air conditioning? Almost certainly. However, would you be able to mass manufacture it to the degree that we do today as safely as we do without air conditioning? Absolutely not.
No.
Number 4, mass production of automobiles. Could that exist without air conditioning? Yes, it could. However, if you look at where most cars are manufactured, Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, Mexico, none of those places would be able to crank out cars to the degree that they do without air conditioning, because you would have workers dropping out from heat stroke. In fact, most of the major cities in America that are in a hotter climate, like, I don't know, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Dallas, Houston, Orlando, Atlanta, all of which would probably exist to some degree if it wasn't for air conditioning, but air conditioning allowed them to grow into major metropolitan areas. It's literally a saying, air conditioning made Phoenix possible. And last but not least, the airplane. Now, would the Wright brothers have strapped some wings to a bicycle, drove it off a cliff, and figured out how to fly? Absolutely. Is commercial flight without air conditioning as we know it today possible? Absolutely not. The inside of that
you get up that high, you've got to have something to regulate the temperatures. Especially when you're getting up 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 feet in the air. Yeah, you need something to be able to heat and cool that interior, lest you be exposed to things like, you know, freezing temperatures outside. VTubing would not exist without AC. That's quite true. Our computers would run incredibly hot, and lots of PCs would just sort of melt down and blow up because we were not able to keep them as cool. Graphically, it's quite demanding. Holyman556, thank you for following over on Kick. Streaming in general would not exist without AC. Yes, you need AC to keep your environs cool, but you also need AC throughout the entire manufacturing process of all of the elements that go into a desktop PC. Especially needed to cool when planes are moving at high speeds. And most people, they don't really think about this sort of thing. We really have taken these things for granted. Even this is just sort of dawning on me that, yeah, aircon, it really is a big fucking deal, not just to cool yourself off and stay cool in the warm months, but we kind of need this for civilization. So there's no virtue in preening about, you know, how environmentally conscious you are, how much a better person you are because you suffer without AC. You're just sort of being an idiot. If you don't mind, would you read my quote retweet to you during an intermission to one of your videos and elaborate in your view? Yeah, I'll take a look at it. We're almost done with this one anyway, so I'll get to that next. Maybe I can forgive John AC Hollywood. Imagine how hot high-rise buildings would be without AC. We wouldn't even have skyscrapers. That's true. Skyscrapers made of steel and glass and concrete. Yeah, I mean, you just go into an old office building, for example, something that perhaps it hasn't been treated with, you know, the modern forms of energy efficiency. And you get close to a window, sun's out, and it's not even necessarily a hot day, but you kind of start to feel a bit toasty after a while. You want to be able to close the blinds, and yeah, you kind of want to turn the temperature down if you've got access to a thermostat. Yeah. Those big steel and glass towers, they turn into ovens after a while.
Cabin on that plane would be 400 degrees if it wasn't for air conditioning. So yes, air conditioning is the most important invention of the 20th century. Which raises the question, why the fuck don't the Europeans just use it?
Right. What did he say?
Said as his head, huh? He only took him down because he couldn't see the view no more. What's he moaning about?
And the answers to that question might be the most infuriating answers to a question I've ever gotten in my entire life. Answer number 1, Europeans don't need air conditioning because the climate isn't as hot as America. Now,
well, apparently it's getting hot enough that you're all bitching, moaning, and whinging about it. So maybe get some aircon and stop bitching, moaning, and whinging about it.
setting aside the fact that that proves the initial point that America is hotter and we could survive a British heat wave, we'll just set that off to the side real quick. The Europeans say shit like, well, we wouldn't run them that often and we would only need them for like 1 month a year. Cool. Do you know how much shit I own that I don't need very often? I've had a spare tire in every car I've ever owned my entire life.
Yeah, you hope you never have to use the spare tire in your car, but it's there. I mean, you might as well have it. It's one of those things, better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Never had to use it. I've still fucking got it.
Yanuka1, welcome in over on Kick.
Just in case. If there was something that I only needed to use 30 days a year to make sure my balls weren't hot while I was trying to sleep, you best believe I'm gonna fucking own it. Oh, well, Europeans are tougher than you Americans. We'll just grit our teeth and bear it. Are you? Are you really? Because last I checked, 175,000 fucking people died from heat stroke because you're too fucking stupid to buy an air conditioner.
Yeah, 175,000 people. That is the population of a small city, or, you know, an American suburb. That is a sizable population. That's like an entire small city just being wiped off the map because you people can't be bothered to install a window unit in your homes. Yes, that's awful. Oh my God, somebody else just says whinging. It's not just me. Yes.
Understand how insane that is? If there was any other event on the planet that killed 175,000 people...
Because it just sounds weird when I say whining. There are actual actions that cause less loss of life. I think you're right, Phalanx. Greenland barely has a population of 50k. So that is like double, about 1 or 2.5 times the population of Greenland dead from heat stroke and heat-related maladies. Over triple Greenland, yes, thank you. That's 3 times over and then half of that on top.
There would be memorials and statues commemorating what a tragedy this was. But because it's just you guys being like, well, the Americans invented a machine that can domesticate wind, but we don't want to admit they're right. So we would rather let all our young and elderly die of heat stroke than give them the W.
It's the meme. It's the meme of the person at the switch with the train running over people on the tracks that says, you can stop this at any time, but you have to admit you made a mistake. Many people fail at this simple task. The trolley problem, yes. You can stop the trolley at any time, but you have to admit you made a mistake. Many people fail at this simple task. Many such cases.
What are you doing? Okay, which leads right into the next argument, the most infuriating one, because I used to build shit for a living. Americans don't understand because our homes are actually built to retain heat. So an air conditioner...
You go into any modern home that's been built in the past, I don't know, 10, 20 years. They're also designed to retain the heat. I mean, the house I live in is much older. But there are still measures that you can take to make sure that both the heat and the cool are retained within the structure. You know, like having some fresh insulation pumped into certain parts, you know, in between the walls. Having fresh insulation put into your attic. Having new windows installed. We used to have these old metal and glass windows that Mum would have to... I don't know if anybody else has had to do this, where where they have like the old metal and glass sliding windows, and people put the tin foil over the windows to keep the heat out. Used to have to do that a long time ago. And now, with these new, I guess they're made of vinyl or something like that, don't really have that problem. It actually, things are kept at a fairly even temperature throughout the year. We don't have to put the tinfoil up on the windows. Brand new air conditioning system. We used to have one that was sort of on its last legs for a long time. A brand new air conditioning system, air conditioner and heater from Carrier. Big thing. Works wonders though. Also has a heat pump installed with it, which, especially in cold winter months, is quite effective at warming the place up. That's rather nice. You can get a fancy touchscreen panel to control the temperature. We can set both the heat and the cool so that it never gets above a certain temperature and never goes below a certain temperature. And most of the year, we just sort of set it and forget it. That's a marvelous thing. Couldn't be happier. I have quadruple layer windows, 4 panes of glass with space between them. Thing is thick as hell, and it's funny. And I'll bet it holds in the heat and also keeps in the cool. Leaded no, we never had anything like leaded windows. Nothing like that. Yeah, spoiler alert, houses have been built to be thermally stable for the better part of a century now, right? Heat retention is climate retention. It's all insulation. Yes, good insulation can oftentimes make all the difference. That admitting part is quite hard for people. It is. Requires checking one's ego. But if I can do it, anyone can, and I'm nobody special. I've just done a lot of traveling. And surprise, surprise, there's things that even the Americans can learn from the Europeans, from the Japanese, from a lot of other people. I mean, I personally think that the Japanese inventing the Toto Washlet, that's probably one of their greatest contributions to human civilization. To the point that I'm rather spoiled by my Toto Washlet whenever I go to the bathroom. Use of standard toilet paper and, dude wipes, I just view that as savagery. When the better, more cost-effective and less wasteful approach is to just have a tiny little stream of water shooting up your bum to wash off the poo. And you just use a tiny bit of toilet paper to dry yourself off and wash your hands and off you go. It's brilliant. And it needs to be standard issue with all new homes, with public buildings, public bathrooms, everything throughout the United States and the entire world. That's my opinion. I think the world would be a much better place if we had something like that.
Wouldn't work as well for us. Motherfucker, that's just insulation. That's how insulation works, okay? Do you have a thermos? If you put hot tea or whatever stupid shit you guys drink in a thermos, you know how it stays hot? Now dump it out and put fucking ice water in it. The ice water stays cold, okay? Your house isn't specifically designed to be hot inside. It's designed to have a controlled temperature regardless of what's going on outside. So if you buy an air conditioner and you cool off the house, it stays fucking cool. Well, air conditioning's really expensive. No, it isn't. You can buy a window unit for $169 to...
Yeah, $169 for a window unit. Manufactured by General Electric. 115 volts, 5,000 BTUs. There's the big thing to look for, chat, whenever you're shopping for... an air conditioner unit, is the BTUs. The more BTUs, the better. The more powerful it is. The the less energy it's going to have to expend trying to keep cool. Fewer BTUs means it's going to struggle to keep a space cool. I mean, no idea how much they cost over in the UK or in continental Europe. But these sorts of units, I do know for a fact, are indeed sold in those markets. They can be acquired. It really is just a matter of the will to do so. If our rest stops had those toilets, the bathrooms would be treated better. Yes, I'm sure they would. And they don't necessarily have to be Toto branded. There's plenty of other companies out there. I think there's even American companies that have created competitor models to the Washlet. There's some I've seen out there. I think one American company came up with their own version that was the Toto Washlet on steroids. You know, the water pressure's a little bit weaker on the Toto Washlet. The American version? You can crank that water pressure up so high that you will give yourself an enema. I am not joking. That is an actual setting on one of these bidet toilet seats that I've seen made by the Americans. They cranked up the pressure so high, or you can, that you give yourself an enema. Just noticed that he mentioned the importance of refrigeration for food. I know he said medicine. Yes, that's another thing, isn't it? Refrigeration technology to cool your food, to keep your food cold, whether it be at refrigerated temperatures or even at freezing temperatures. That's one hell of a bidet. Yes, it is. The Toto Washlet ones are... the Toto Washlet ones are made mostly out of plasticky bits. This one in particular was made mostly out of metal. It went hard. Literally, in some ways. Power wash toilet, yes. Welcome in, Nico. I guess that's one way to prep for Tuesday night.
Cool off the room that you sleep in, or your living room, or whatever, okay? The average minimum wage of Europe is $8.33 American. That's 20 hours of the most unskilled labor that you have available in exchange for a magic box that domesticates the fucking wind so you don't have to sweat your balls off. Okay, that is a modern miracle, and you're saying...
I know it's hard, but, you know, do some Deliveroo or some Uber Eats or something like that. Anything, literally anything. You can do it. Euro bros, you can do it. My fellow Britbongs, I believe in you.
That's too expensive. I would pay an outrageous amount of money to see a British person go back in time and talk to one of their ancestors, some medieval peasant picking turnips outside of a castle, and explain to them that in the future, there's a magical box that can make the house cold when it's hot outside. And in exchange for that, all they had to do was work 20 hours and they could cool off their house for years upon years to come, and then explain to them with deadpan stare, but I don't do it. Because it's expensive.
Are you pulling my leg?
Motherfucker, it's literally...
Yeah, it's... And, you know, the medieval peasants would look at the modern Britbongs and ask them, it's like, well, how many hours do you have to work per week? And the number would be shocking even to them, because a lot of these medieval peasants, you go back and analyze how long they worked. They didn't work that many hours. They didn't work that many hours compared to what we do now. Granted, they were sort of limited by how many hours of daylight they could work, but they really did not have to work as many hours as we do. The idea of these long working days is largely a product of industrialization. And of the invention of things like electricity and air conditioning. Yoda bros have a point to prove and they're dying in the process. Shake my head. Yes. there was so much less required and optional activities way back in the day. Yes, this is also true.
Magic to these people. You have the opportunity to buy climate changing magic for 20 hours of your time, and you're just like, nah, I'd rather let grandma and grandpa die from heat stroke. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm slowly coming around to the idea that this is actually a conspiracy by the European governments to slowly kill off old people so they don't break their universal healthcare system. There's no...
Yes. No, there's actually more to it than that, because so many of these deaths are of people on the younger side, but also the elderly. Because, you know, Americans think they've got a problem with Social Security and Medicare. Crank that up to 11 with the welfare states and the social safety nets of Europe and the United Kingdom. And yeah, lots of European countries and also the EU Parliament, they see all of that and it's just like, well, maybe if we just gaslight people into thinking that air conditioning is extreme right-wing and makes you a Nazi, you know, we're bound to have enough idiots fall for that, including the olds, including the pensioners, that, you know, the problem will just sort of sort itself out, and then we'll be able to keep our promises. The systems won't go bankrupt as quickly. And, yeah, the problem will just sort of solve itself. So, yeah, that's another thing. They're just trying to kill off as many old people as possible so that they don't have to keep paying out those benefits because they promise too much and all of a sudden they're like, oh, shit, we can't deliver. Most justifications I've seen for banning AC has been environmentalism. I think that's just a pretense. I honestly don't believe people are sincere about that whole thing. I think the problem is much more fundamental. Like you mentioned, it's more a matter of we promise way too much in terms of a social contract. We're having trouble delivering. I know. Let's just make people as uncomfortable and miserable as possible. Let's not have as many nice things compared to the Americans over there. And let's gaslight people into thinking they're somehow virtuous for being long-suffering like this. And maybe enough of them will, you know, die in the process. That way we don't have to provide as many benefits to as many people anymore. It's almost dumb as milk being right-wing, except this is win the Darwin Award for idiots, yes. Gravity, welcome in. Greetings, your lordship. On your birthday, I'll dress you properly. Well, thank you. Screw their heathen nature gods. I want to live in comfort. Yes, we want nice things. Reminds me of when people took pictures of themselves drinking glasses of milk to trigger leftists. Yes, the left has no response to this.
No other logical explanation for why you would be anti-air conditioning. And apparently one of the big talking points is, oh, well, air conditioning is actually bad for climate change, so it's only making the problem worse.
Bullshit.
And then the climate activists get on CNN or the BBC or whatever, and they're giving interviews offering alternatives to air conditioning that you could do. I'm going to show you, because if I didn't show you the interview, you wouldn't believe me. Their solutions get progressively worse, but we're going to go ahead and start off with their best solution. Solution number one.
If it gets really hot, I sleep under a wet sheet. That's my other technique.
How about no?
With a big...
Yeah, I don't like the idea of sleeping under a wet blanket. Literally, that's what she has to offer, is to just be a wet blanket about things. She is literally offering a wet blanket. Tristan Blaze, welcome in. Yo, happy birthday, man. Thank you. Thank you. I've suddenly discovered something worse than wet socks. Yes, a wet blanket. That's even worse. That just would feel so weird. I mean, look, I can understand on a hot day, or perhaps if you got a headache or something like that, a wet wash rag over your forehead, over your eyes, something like that. That's all right. That's all right. But telling people sleep in a wet blanket, that just, no. Not only that, it's like, are you aware of what modern mattresses are made out of? You are basically going to get your mattress drenched. It's going to track mold and mildew and other nasty things, and you're telling people to just sleep in that. Nah, miss me with that. Yes, we'll mold your mattress too. Yes. Fungi ecosystem. I love creating humidity and mold. 30 days a year of wet blanket will give you mold. Yes, it will. So, in your effort to be, quote unquote, environmentally friendly, you've just made things more expensive for people because have you seen the cost of a mattress these days? So, you're just costing people more money. And especially you're costing them more money over the long term because they'd have to keep doing that. They have to keep replacing the mattresses, probably once a year or even twice a year. Whereas if you were to just buy air conditioning, that's a one and done purchase. That's something that you don't have to replace so often. That's something you replace maybe once every, 10, 20 years, something like that. Rather than once every 6 to 12 months with a mattress. The math's not mathing, lady. We're not buying what you're selling. 10 to 15 years now, yeah. But still, what's better than having to replace the mattress every 6 to 12 months? You could also just take a bag of something out of your freezer and hold that onto your head. Yes, that works too. Like a bag of frozen peas or something. And the drain on the NHS when they get sick from mold. Yes, that's another cost. Modern AC units are recommended to be overhauled or replaced every 10 to 15 years. That's still less expensive than having to replace the mattress constantly.
Bucket of water under the desk with my...
Can't imagine mattress production is very environmentally friendly either. No, not with all the foam and the springs and the stuffing and all of that. Most of it is synthetic materials now. It's usually the more posh, expensive mattresses that they still stuff with feathers and other things that are not foam. But your sort of everyday, like your IKEA mattresses or, something you get from Serta, Sealy, or some company like that. And especially if you go memory foam, like a Tempur-Pedic mattress. Yeah, that's all synthetic, foam-based product. In other words, petroleum-based products. The same thing that you'd make plastics out of. And that's what you're sleeping on. And that's also what you'd be getting moldy quite easily with a wet blanket.
Feet in the bucket of water.
Option number 2, soak your feet in a bucket of water while you're sitting at home all day long. Also, no, B, I know your house fucking stinks. It smells like wet feet and BO because you're not wearing deodorant and you don't have air conditioning, and I know you're sitting in the house sweating your ass off 24/7. No, I'm not doing it. And
well, she's wanting everybody else to do that. She herself, it would not surprise me in the least if she's got air conditioning, because it's fine when she does it. But the rest of you plebiscites, you need to suffer for the planet or some load of bollocks. It's okay, the foam is made in India and China. Their contributions to climate change don't count, only the West. Yeah, funny how that works. I had to order my sleep number bed, no stock at the store. Yeah, rules for thee.
Option number 3, I can't believe this is real.
Including, would you believe it, painting windows with yogurt.
I'm sorry, what? What in the actual goddamn am I listening to? Painting your windows with yogurt? Have you... No, don't answer that. I already know the answer. You have completely taken leave of your senses. Also, can you imagine the stench? The stench of a heated window in the summer that's been painted with a layer of yogurt. all of these options have a through line of increased health issues. Yes. It ultimately is a depopulation psyop. So much of what leftists and environmentalists do is designed for two things: population reduction and mate suppression. Imagine decomposing yogurt smell in all the house. That would be absolutely insufferable. I'd go mad. The carbon they're reducing is you. Yeah. They just, genuinely, they hate you and want you dead. And they want it done in the most humiliating way possible. This is an absolute humiliation ritual. Sleeping in a wet blanket, dunking your feet in a bucket of water, and painting your windows with yogurt. We used to institutionalize people in sanitariums for this sort of behavior. Petri dish house speed run.
How are you this?
These people are not real. These people are not real. They are anti-human, but still, this is just, wow. These people are not real. How they crash out? Yeah, I'm gonna crash out, chat. That woman needs to be locked up in a sanitarium. I would say get thee to a nunnery. No, just sanitarium. Bring back the asylums. We've got a mad woman on the loose, and she's telling people to paint the windows with yogurt. That's not going to do anything. It's just going to make your house smell. Echoes of the lobotomy hammer and needle are ringing.
Your solution, rather than just admitting the Americans are onto something with this air conditioning shit, is to smear yogurt on your fucking windows. You want to make window cheese rather than just turn on an air conditioner. How do you not see how fucking insane that sounds? Like, one of your biggest talking points is air conditioning is expensive. How expensive is it to smear a new layer of yogurt on all the windows on your house and then have your house smell like curdled milk and still be hot as shit? I can't even begin to fathom.
That woman needs to be publicly flogged, just for the sheer fact that what she is saying is complete and total idiocy. Okay, back to how cooked are... Oh, God, they're marinating themselves, yes. And, of course, CNN showcase. I think that was the BBC, but still. The left has been funded by big fungi.
The amount of desperation and misery the person that figured this out was experiencing. Do you know how fucking hot and sweaty and delirious you have to be sitting at home in your living room on the couch?
I would absolutely crash out at that woman. I would absolutely be shouting and screaming in her face for how fucking stupid she is. And yes, honestly, she needs to be publicly flogged. She just needs to be publicly flogged to send a message to everyone else. This shit will not be tolerated. This level of idiocy will not be tolerated any further. Women like this are why Sean Connery said you need to reset women occasionally. Yes. These are the rantings of a hysterical madwoman. Mold, flies, heat exhaustion, all at the same time. Real window yogurt hasn't been tried yet.
For you to finally go, I got to do something. I'm going to try smearing yogurt on my windows.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Like, what are you doing? Just get an air conditioner, for the love of God. Oh my God. At this point, I'm convinced
just get the air conditioning. Just get the air conditioning. We just need to say this over and over to these people. Just broken record. Just get the air conditioning. Just get the air conditioning. You know how so many of them try to say, just say the line. Just say the line. It's not hard to say the line. We just need to go back. It's not hard. Just get the air conditioning. It's not hard to get air conditioning. Just get the air conditioning. It's really not hard. You just need to get the air conditioning. Oh, what's that? It's just get the air conditioning time? Oh, would you look at what time it is? It's get air conditioning time. It's get air conditioning o'clock. You just need to get the air conditioning. Just get the air conditioning. It's not hard. Just get the air conditioning. Just get the air conditioning. Just get the air conditioning. Really not hard. Just get the air conditioning. Oh, did I say that already? I meant to say, just get the air conditioning. Oh, you weren't able to hear me that first time. Oh, just get the air conditioning. Virtue signal hard. It'll cool you down for sure. For real, for real.
Air conditioning could prevent World War III if you guys would just do it. No wonder you guys are always starting World Wars and dragging us into it. You're all fucking grumpy and hot 24/7. Get some AC and come up with a peace treaty. I don't ever want to hear a European talk shit about America being dumb ever again. They always love to bring up like, oh, America has a bunch of gun violence, blah, 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 blah. Cool. More people are dying because you refuse to use air conditioning than Americans are dying from gun violence, all right? And by a lot. Yeah. It's not even close. Europe is losing 175,000 people a year. To put that into perspective, America had roughly 60,000 people die in the Vietnam War. How do you not see how insane that is? Air conditioning at this point is like the cheapest, most cost-effective, life-saving technology on the planet, and you're just like,
get the air conditioning.
Nah, I don't want it. And the most beautiful part about all this is I know for a fact there's going to be a ton of keyboard warriors with a bunch of stupid talking points and smug comments in the comment sections. And
just give them the JD Vance treatment. I don't really care, Margaret. I don't really care, Margaret. Just get the air conditioning.
This is going to get clipped and put on Twitter and Instagram and all these other places. And it's going to be all these comments. And you know what? None of those comments would be possible without air conditioning, because without air conditioning, the internet that you're using wouldn't function and the phone you're holding in your hand wouldn't have been able to get manufactured. You are proving my point that air conditioning is the most important invention of the 21st century. And if you don't have some, you should get some. And that's all I got to say about that. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch, maybe drink some Echelon. Links to both of those available over at FatElectrician.com.
Overkill is underrated. That's good.
Out.
My philosophy, exactly. Overkill is underrated. Words to live by.
Don't forget to go check out Supremacy World War III, unlock your railgun, and go conquer the British. It's what George Washington would have wanted.
Go get your GUI beam, chat. Go get your GUI beam. All right, we're giving that a like. I can't believe we've been tangenting for close to 2 hours now about air conditioning. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you never miss an update. If you have any thoughts, questions, or ideas for future videos, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. You can also follow me on Twitter at Lord Rexworth for more updates and behind-the-scenes content. And if you want to support the channel, check out my Coffee or Throne pages. Links are in the description. Finally, be sure to visit lordrexworth.com and follow me across all platforms. That's lordrexworth.com. Until next time, I wish you all the best, and God bless.